Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Today's video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of MREs versus Mountain House meals. Before I get into it, let's get the boring stuff out of the way. If you enjoy the videos, hit the like button. If you enjoy what we're doing with the channel, hit the subscribe button. And lastly, share it with your friends and family. But I also have a new lastly. I said that I had purchased a microphone for the phone. It came in. This will be the first video that I'm using it, so I would also like y'all to know if the sound quality is better. That being said, so I've got the spaghetti with beef meatball MRE here, and I've got a biscuit and gravy Mountain House meal here. So what we're covering in the video is the pros and cons of both. Which one should you maybe pick? But I can say that there are situations where they've got their own purposes. It's the same way as there are things that a handgun does better than a rifle, and there's things that a rifle does better than a handgun. So you get both, and that's kind of the end of this video is you should have both. So we'll start with the MRE. Inside of a military MRE, because there are FEMA MREs, it's going to be roughly 1,200 calories. It's going to be a full complete meal. So you're going to have an entree, you're going to have sides, you're going to have some form of dessert, you're going to have snacks. Depending on which one it is, you're going to have some sort of beverage option. Could be electrolytes, could be caffeine. There's going to be seasonings. So a fairly well-rounded out meal. That being said, they're going to cost you between $12 and $15 buying them individually. And I've seen that you can get them as cheap as $8 or $9 if you're buying a whole box at a time. So, and then there's also, when you buy them by a box, there's 10 to 12 different options. So that's definitely a pro, that it is a complete meal. I kind of put it in the con category of the cost for this meal, because if you didn't check out my video where I talked about feeding yourself for a day for $2.56, you could almost feed yourself for a week based off the price of one of these. So that's definitely in the con category. Something else I put in the con category is there's a lot of sodium and carbs in these. So if there are health problems with that, that's something to keep in mind. A pro is it only requires a little bit of water to warm the food up, but you also can eat everything in an MRE without warming it up. It's a pre-cooked meal. So little amount of water to make it taste much better. You don't have to heat up any water. I can say, if you've never had an MRE before, buy 3 or 4 different flavors that you don't plan on putting in preps, and try eating them first, because if you're not used to it, then it can definitely be a form of a culture shock, and you don't really want to go into that situation of, oh my gosh, I need to eat something, and you're going to maybe be in a bad situation. And I would also experiment with taking the time to heat it up and eating it cold. Between myself, discussions I've had with my brother and our friend Blake, I think we've eaten more of these cold than we have hot, just doing military stuff. So that's something to consider. Another con that I would say about these is its weight and packaging. inside of this brown packaging is your 10 or so different items, and they're all individually wrapped. That can also be a pro because you open this up, you trade out the things that you don't like, you keep the things that you like, you can put the snacks in your pocket and hold on to them. And everything being individually wrapped, you can eat some stuff, save stuff for later, and you don't have to worry about a Ziploc bag or something else like that. I've got a whole box in my closet from pieces that I've kept, pieces that other people have tossed out, and it's just all the different things that either you weren't hungry enough to eat the whole thing, you didn't like something, you traded, uh, and it's a ever growing stash. Kind of a pro is these are going to be shelf stable. Uh, they say for at least 5 years. They can go a bit longer. I remember watching Doomsday Prepper, and a guy would eat an MRE once a year that some of them were 20 plus years old, and they were still doing just fine. And that's partially because the amount of sodium that goes into them. If you didn't know this, we have preserved and cured almost all the different foods you can think of in salt for most of human history. It's only the last, 110-ish years that we've gotten refrigeration and haven't had to preserve food the old way. So that's what I got about the MRE and the Mountain House meal. So a lot of its pros are going to be a con for the Mountain House meals. A lot of its cons are going to be a pro for the MRE. So this one, the way these are packaged, they have them set up so you don't have to, put it inside of another container. You can buy, so this is freeze-dried food. You can buy it in number 10 cans. You can buy Harvest Right and freeze-dried food that way and get it in a lot smaller container. But weight-wise, this is a lot lighter. So that's a pro. Con, you gotta have hot water to, reconstitute this back into this meal. Another con, this is one individual meal, but it's just biscuits and gravy. And this has 560 calories in it. So it's still a meal in itself, whereas the MRE is a meal with extras. I mean, it's extras for an everyday person if you are, being very physically active, doing the military type stuff that they were designed for. You don't have, really extra calories that you're able to hold on to. So it's kind of something I didn't mention, but if your prepping vision is more of a Minuteman style, then that's going to be, the calories that you need. Although something that's a bit higher than that would be like those survival bars. They're like 2,000 calories in themselves, and they taste like cardboard. So there's preparation involved in this, whereas with the MRE you can eat it cold, or you can warm it up with just a little bit of water that you don't have to heat up. So you will need to know how to build a fire, have a lighter, have some sort of camp stove that you can boil water, a container to boil water in, and then this meal is ready to go. The benefit or a pro to these is Mountain House meal has dozens of options. Ready Wise has dozens of options. I know there's other freeze-dried food companies out there that also have their own options. And you can also buy a home freeze dryer and freeze dry any of the meals that you want. But sticking with Mountain House, it's the same way with those. These are kind of expensive. The last time I checked at Walmart, these are going for right around $10. So already from a cost to calorie standpoint, the MRE's the way to go. Uh, Again, if you buy this in bulk, you can get the price a lot cheaper, and you can buy a number 10 can at a time, up to a pallet's worth at a time. And so, I mean, that works like that with anything. Buying the 20 round box of 5.56 is going to cost more in the long run than buying 500 rounds at a time. So keep that in mind. Uh, Big pro to this over the MRE, and I don't know if this one's old enough for it. No, this is one of the newer ones. They are able to put a guarantee 30-year shelf life on this. The science says that as long as this package is not broken, the oxygen absorber, it's all still sealed in, which that's why it's in a Mylar bag. This food should last indefinitely. It was made to go up on spaceships and deal with the harsh climates and, last a very long time. I have some Mountain House meals that only have a 15-year guaranteed shelf life, and that's just because they have to pass, FDA, USDA regulations. 50 years from now, I can almost guarantee you they'll be able to put a 75, 80-year shelf life on their package, as long as they're, still around as a company. Uh, with this one meal, you open this, some of their containers, so like this one has a Ziploc in it, that way you can save this meal, but some of theirs don't. So once you open this meal, it's open. You would have to have another container if you wanted to save any of this food. So I think it's only on my older ones and some of their bags that are made specifically for backpacking. So they've kind of gotten rid of that issue. But also know, if you make your own freeze-dried meals, something that you'll have to think about is, are you going to eat that meal in one sitting? Are you going to spend the extra money to have a Ziploc function on your Mylar bag when you make them at home? But getting off on the side shoot. Like I said, 10 to 12 different options. So now, comparing the two different meals. 5 years, a bit more calories. 30 years, a little bit less calories. Heavier, lighter, more salt, less salt. Individually wrapped so that you can kind of save things. This is one meal. If you want sides or extras, then you're packing up something else. If you're a new prepper, I would not recommend this stuff to start out with. Other than you're going to put 3 or 4 MREs in a bug out bag, a handful of Mountain House meals in a bug out bag, you want to toss a few in your vehicle, go for it. From a calorie to dollar amount, there are better options to at least get that safety net going, and then you can start thinking about stuff like this. Because a pro that both of these have is, there's not, you're not making a meal. You're heating up water, pouring it in the bag, and waiting for 5 minutes. You're eating this as soon as you open it up, or if you want it to warm up, you're also waiting about 5 minutes for that heater in there to do its work. Versus rice, beans, spaghetti, any of the canned foods that you store up, you're going to need time to cook those. So really useful to have in bug out bags. If you're going for like just a complete meal and you want to have your 72 hours, I think this is the way to go. And set it up on some sort of rotation. That way you're constantly having fresh meals ready to go. These are very good as a investment kind of thing. I bought these in 2020, and they were $7 or $8. They're still making these at the same, calorie amount, and they're $2 to $3 more. So I have saved money when it comes time to eat that. Regardless of what you spend on anything, it's also that insurance policy that you physically see what your monthly premium is going towards. So if a budget isn't a problem, either one of these are perfect to go with, whether it's MRE or freeze-dried food. You can also get the FEMA MREs. They have a lot less in them. Like their calorie amount is closer to 750 calories. But they're more of a, we're trying to keep people alive. We're not trying to keep them alive and in some sort of fighting condition. So keep that in mind. Again, they have roughly the same shelf life as these. And if you get those, they can kind of expand your food options. That being said, stacked to the rafters, this is a lot easier to stack because it's got a much longer shelf life, and I technically think they'll last forever. So you can put this away and forget about it and just continue to add on to that pile. These guys are going to need to be rotated more often, but like I say, prepping's a lifestyle, so some of these are on the list to go on my next camping trip. Some of these are slated to just get eaten and replaced. So it's very easy to say, well, the meal this week's going to be an MRE and we've purchased new ones, versus, oh crap, all of my MREs are starting to go bad and now I need to go spend a bunch of money again. Break it up into small chunks. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave your comments down below, hit the subscribe button, and share the channel with your friends and family. With that, catch you in the next one.